We've got Aaron on now. We've accepted Aaron to join. Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. How are you doing?
I'm not too bad. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Thanks for joining.
Good. That's all right. Yeah, sorry that took so long.
No worries.
My
No worries.
account wasn't
Glad I got you here.
I,
Yeah.
yeah, I had to borrow my partner's telephone number because I've moved to Cambodia, so I've got a Cambodian number, and I think the Cambodian number was registered to a previous TikTok account, so it wouldn't allow me. So
Okay.
it was quite stressful.
Sounds it, mate. Sounds it. Yeah. What with all these scam checks and stuff, TikTok, it like makes me keep verifying that I'm a human all the time. Bloody nightmare.
Yeah. So I just kind of wanted to come on here really, just to obviously discuss one of your recent videos, some of your claims in your recent videos.
Happy to hear any comments you want to make, and we can discuss
Okay.
it.
Yeah. So, well, probably what I do is if I go through each point, and then you can kind of go over your claim regarding that point.
Yeah, sure.
And then we can then take it from there. So
yeah,
there's kind of four key issues, obviously, that I want to discuss. So the first one is it's all related to that video against Vegan Queen Talks.
Yes.
So yeah, the first one is the kind of the apex predator claim.
Yes.
So yeah. What go through kind of what you were talking about within the video?
Yeah. So obviously, an apex predator, they're at the top of the food chain. So they don't really get hunted. Generally they don't get hunted, and they hunt other animals. So as apex predators, we didn't evolve like strong teeth. We didn't evolve like big muscles, but how we did evolve was through intelligence, through like tool use, through like spears, through this kind of thing, through intelligence, like working together. Like, humans, what they used to do, they used to trap mammoths, they used to like push mammoths, like scare mammoths off a cliff, that kind of thing. So in that sense, like we're apex predators in that we don't really get hunted, but we hunt other animals.
Okay. So do you obviously understand like trophic levels?
No, I don't know what trophic levels are.
Okay, so obviously like trophic levels are the levels of where organisms in the environment, where their hierarchy is. So you have level 1, which is plants and algae, which make up their own food, so they're primary producers. And then you have level 2, which are herbivores, which eat plant matter, primary consumers.
Yeah.
And then you have level 3, which are carnivores, which eat herbivores, but they're secondary consumers. So there is another level above, which is level 5, which are carnivores, which eat other carnivores, which are tertiary consumers. Yeah. And then you have level 5, which are apex predators, which have no predators, which are essentially top of the food chain. So you have various different levels. So you have level 1 all the way up to level 5. So do you know where scientifically humans fit within the trophic levels?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like the trophic levels, I think we'd probably fit in that we eat mostly herbivores. We didn't really eat carnivores. We didn't like hunt lions or like other predators, but we weren't really hunt. I mean, in our early evolution, we were, but as we became intelligent, we used fire, we used other things to scare away those other predators. So, I mean, in terms of those levels, yeah, we might not be at the top of the trophic level. I wasn't referring to the trophic level, but
so we're not. So essentially, we're not scientifically classed as apex predators.
Maybe not scientifically, but I think we are apex predator. I mean, in terms of the trophic levels, I mean, I've not heard of these trophic levels before. I'll have to do some research into that and find out about trophic levels. But we're not hunted by other animals, really, are we? That's what I mean. We're
okay. But do you think we would be hunted by other animals if we were left in a natural environment, say the savannas of Africa, and without our resources such as tools, weapons, etc.? Do you think that we would still be hunted by other animals?
I would say without tools and weapons, we're not humans. Because humans evolved through tools and weapons. So, like, as long as we had our tools, I'm not talking about modern tools, I'm talking about ability to create fire, ability to create stone tools and defend ourselves. No, we wouldn't be hunted because we would work together as a society. You know, we've evolved certain phenotypes where certain people stay up late, they guard the camp, look out for wild animals. So I think without tools and stuff, we're not essentially humans anymore.
What about before we started utilizing tools?
But before we started utilizing tools, we weren't humans. We were like, what's that animal? Afarensis. We were apes, basically. We were pre-human.
So they essentially day one of human beings. So on day one of human beings, we essentially had tools from day one.
Yeah, apes began using tools. We see this in the wild. Apes do use tools and they use it to get certain animals from inside trees, or to crack open nuts and that kind of thing. So yeah, my belief is that humans evolved from apes, and what allowed us to evolve from apes was tool use. Yeah.
And what are apes in terms of their tertiary level?
I don't know about tertiary level. What's the tertiary level?
So sorry, not the tertiary, the trophic levels.
Oh, okay, trophic levels. Oh, yeah. So apes generally mostly herbivores, but they do eat some meat. Some of them eat meat, like chimpanzees. They mostly eat like plants and fruit, I think, and then they eat some meat on occasion. They're mostly herbivores. Yeah, and you're right. We did come from herbivores, But my belief is when we started using tools, that enabled us to scavenge the bones of carcasses that were left over by other predators. We got that bone marrow, and that allowed our brains to get bigger and our guts to get smaller, which we're talking over millennia, over millions of years, we gradually became.
When was the point that humans evolved from chimpanzees?
Between I think 3 to 2 million years ago. Yeah, between 2 to 3 million years ago, approximately.
Okay, it's 6.5 million years ago.
Okay, between 6 to 2 million years ago. Yeah.
At what point did human beings started using tools? When was that first kind of dated?
We're talking about, I'd say before we became humans. So apes were using tools, okay, and that's what allowed us to become humans.
Okay. So archaeological records show that we started using tools about 3.5 million years ago. So there's a gap of about 3 million years at what point humans lived without tools before we started using tools. And then the second bit I wanted to get onto was it's a study. So are you already familiar with the journal? So the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences.
No.
Okay. So it's a reputable journal. So it's a journal like Science Journal, like Nature Journal. So they publish data regarding, anything revolving around kind of scientific stuff. So they did a study in 2013, which is called "Eating Up the World's Food Web and the Human Trophic Levels." Okay, so they basically wanted to study at what level human beings are now. That's at this moment in time, not history, but that's at this moment in time, where humans fall within the trophic levels. So the results from their conclusions. So the first estimate of humans, the trophic levels, is at 2.21. So we're looking at, in terms of the trophic level, we're looking at somewhere between herbivores, so primarily closer to the herbivore section than we are the carnivore section. So we are trophic level similar to anchovies and pigs. So that quantifies the position of humans in the food web and challenges the perception of humans as top predators. So this data actually goes against what you're saying as us as being apex predators, and actually proves that we are in line with other species like pigs and anchovies. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Like literally today?
That's today. So that's a study of human beings today.
Well, I would think what human beings are eating today is unnatural, because the agricultural revolution, began around 10,000 years ago, and our diet totally changed, not through biological evolution, through cultural evolution. So we began cooking plants, we began like
Of
fermenting plants
course.
and this kind of stuff. Whereas in the wild, there's like 400,000 species of plants. We can only eat around 50 of them. So like in the wild, we wouldn't be
But
eating them.
there are thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of species of animals, and we can only consume a certain percentage of those. We can't consume things like poison dart frogs, for example, because they are toxic to human beings.
But if you look at the ratios of like how many species of animals out there and how many are toxic to human, it will be like 0.01%. When you look at the species of plants and how many are toxic to human, it'll be like 99%. 99% of plants are toxic to humans. There's only a small percentage that we were able to eat. And like through the
So,
last 10,000 years, yeah, they, you know,
so why
they
is it? So why is it? Studies show today that the closer that human beings move towards a carnivore diet, so the more animal products that we intake into our bodies, the more our bodies are unhealthy.
I don't agree with that at all. I don't think there's any strong
Okay.
studies to show that, that aren't
So, are you
correlated.
aware of the British? Are you aware of the British Heart Foundation? You
Yeah,
should be, obviously, in the UK. They're a very reputable charity who work a lot regarding like heart health within the United Kingdom. So
yeah,
they have
yeah.
a
I've heard of
verdict. So they have a statement on their website regarding the carnivore diet.
it. Mm.
So the claim is, so the carnivore diet limits to meat, fish, seafood, eggs, and some dairy products, which are high in protein, saturated fats, and low in fiber, is a healthy way to lose weight, lower blood sugar, and reduce inflammation. So this is their verdict on that claim. So
That's just
the
an
extreme
opinion.
diets,
That's just an opinion, though.
but if the British Heart Foundation, they base their verdicts on data. So
On, yeah, go on.
they will base it on the scientific consensus. So they're not gonna look at, because obviously they're a heart foundation, so they are looking at trying to reduce heart disease. So they are going to look at the general consensus in the scientific world, and then they're going to publish statements based on that consensus in the scientific world. So their verdict is, so extreme diets high in saturated fat and low in fiber are known to raise cholesterol levels, increasing the risk of heart attack and stroke. In contrast, the Mediterranean diet, which includes a wide variety of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and seeds, without excluding any food groups, has consistently been shown to support long-term health. So that shows that the more animal products that the more we increase animal products in our diet, the less healthy we get as human beings. Now, if we were designed to consume animal products, why do we get more unhealthy the more that we actually consume?
I don't agree with that at all because the British Heart Foundation, right? They're basing all of their statements on correlation
You you
studies.
you need to so you now need to provide me evidence to prove that verdict from the British Heart Foundation to be false.
No, not really, because they just put opinion on the internet and
Well,
they
you do.
based it.
Obviously, you do, because when you're debating people, debates are based on, especially within science, it's based on scientific data. So you have to provide evidence to prove your claims to be true. There's a thing called the burden of proof. So
Yeah,
the
I
burden of
understand that.
proof
I've got a
is
law
when you
degree. I
make a
understand burden
claim.
of proof. The thing about these association studies is they're not proven. They're correlated. They've got poor methodology. So a lot of them, they lump red meat in with fast food.
Okay,
They don't account for healthy user bias. And the thing is, there's the Seventh-day Adventist Church that was started in the late 19th century. They've influenced a lot of these studies. A lot of these studies have been funded by them Kellogg's. John Harvey Kellogg, he came from the Seventh-day Adventist Church. They're anti-meat, and they promoted a lot of these studies. That there's people like the British Heart Foundation. They base it on these studies, which are inaccurate. The methodologies are poor. They're just totally wrong.
so how do you know what they base their studies on?
Well, like for instance, Ansel Keys, he was a very prominent physiologist in the 60s, and a lot of the research was started by him, and he was promoting his sort of anti-cholesterol agenda, and he put out a lot of this stuff saying cholesterol is bad for you. It's not true. Cholesterol isn't bad for you. There's a recent study that came out say people with the highest LDL live the longest, and a lot of these previous studies they're just not accurate.
Do you obviously you regard like the National Health Service as a reputable source?
They are in the fact that I don't think they're deliberately lying. but they're following misguided
to a
data.
point that you to a point where you disagree with them. So you agree with them up until a point that you disagree with them.
Well, I agree that they're not deliberately trying to misguide us, but I don't necessarily agree with everything that they say because they're not based.
So you're anti-science.
The science is all association data, which isn't really proven. You know, for instance, healthy user bias isn't accounted for. So for instance, people have been told for so long that cholesterol is bad for you. So when they're doing these studies, you know, the people that are avoiding red meat are living longer. It's not because they're avoiding red meat. It's because they're living healthier overall. They don't smoke. They maybe drink less. They're avoiding stuff because they've got healthy user bias. None of these studies account for healthy user bias.
Okay.
And then the methodology as well. Sometimes
we're massively going to agree to disagree. But as far as I'm concerned, I need you to provide data that actually shows that to be the case. Because when you look at, even when you look at meta-analysis data, so meta-analysis data shows that there is a distinct link between the intake of saturated fat and cardiovascular disease.
I don't think that's proven because of the reasons I said, that the healthy user bias isn't accounted for. They've lumped red meat in with fast food. So in a lot of these surveys, they're saying, like a McDonald's meal is red meat.
Not meta-analysis, not surveys. So in terms of like the hierarchy of data, where would you say a meta-analysis sits?
Meta-analysis is obviously at the top, but what's above that is meta-analysis of random controlled studies, and there isn't any of those. These are all correlated studies.
There are meta-analysis regarding obviously the link between heart disease and saturated fat.
But they're associative studies. They're not random controlled trials.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, we're going to have to sort of agree to disagree on that, but. So the second
trials showing cholesterol is bad for you. There isn't. They're all associative studies.
Okay. Let me just have to do a little bit of research that. So what's that claim again?
Research, come back to me.
Okay. Carry on.
I feel like there's been a lot put out there which is anti-meat, and I feel like that's good for us because, you know, we evolved a lot through the ice age as well. You know, there's periods where we lived through icy tundras and we only ate meat and we got all of our nutrition from meat. For instance, the vegan diet, you're missing a lot of nutrients.
Yeah, but we had a very low life expectancy within those periods as well.
But that wasn't to do with diet. You know, there was high infant mortality, there was high risk of death through other things. You know, the facts show that if you live beyond the age of 15, you're very likely to live in your 70s or beyond, and living healthy as well. So the diet wasn't the limiting factor why people were dying younger.
Okay.
And it's proven in the isotope. So they've taken the bones of people from that period and they've tested the marrow inside their long bones, and they found that they ate 8% meat. Yeah, they did eat some vegetables or tubers probably.
So where is this? So where are these studies? What are these?
I can send them to you. They found the bones.
Yeah, please do.
Humans, and they tested the isotope testing inside the marrow, and they checked it, and they were eating 8% meat, and 20% they did eat vegetable matter, and it was most likely tubers and other things. When they were desperate, they would eat some vegetables, but it wasn't ideal for them, in my opinion.
Okay, but like I'm saying, there is countless data that proves that there is a link between rises in saturated fat regarding like heart disease and the elevated strokes, and that is, like I say, the British Heart Foundation and National Health Service. These are reputable organisations that they would use.
Like, I don't know about the British Heart Foundation.
But that is just an opinion. That is just an opinion based on you just having a disagreement. So,
your opinion is irrefutable. They could be influenced.
One second. Would you disagree that tobacco causes, for instance, lung cancer?
I don't think tobacco is good for you. No, it's not good for your health, as far as I can.
So, would you agree with the evidence that shows that there is a link between tobacco, the use of tobacco, and lung cancer?
Yeah, I'm not saying all associative studies are wrong. Okay. They might reach the right data.
So it's the ones that suit what you want, the ones that suit the message that you want to convey to the public, you disagree with, but everything else that you agree with. even though these reputable organisations, they will use the same level of data to come to the same conclusions. Whether it's like the World Health Organization. So a lot of people think about that red processed meats, for example, are not a group 1 carcinogen. So they're known to cause cancer, the same as tobacco. It doesn't necessarily mean that processed meats cause cancer in the same way that tobacco does. But people don't believe it. But they always, for some reason, believe that tobacco causes cancer, yet disbelieve the fact that red processed meats are linked to cancer as well. Yet the World Health Organization would use they would analyze the data in exactly the same way. They have exactly the same protocols that they go through to come to the same conclusions.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, with the red meat thing, right? So, like, people, like, if there's the health view, all of these studies are correlative studies. So they're looking at people's lifestyles and they're saying, okay, so people that don't eat red meat live longer.
What studies prove the carnivore diet to be healthy?
I believe it's the natural human diet, and it is what we're supposed to be eating.
What studies prove that the carnivore diet is healthy?
There's a lot of studies proving the keto diet is healthy. There's not many on the carnivore diet yet. There's studies.
Why are there not studies on the carnivore diet when obviously the carnivore diet is extremely fashionable at this moment in time, as well as a plant-based diet as well? But there are lots of studies on plant-based diets. There are countless studies on plant-based diets, but there are no studies on the carnivore diet. The only study there is on the carnivore diet is it was a survey conducted within a carnivore forum, which I believe was I think it was produced by Sean Baker. I think it was the person that obviously.
Yeah, there's not been enough studies done into it. Yeah, I agree. But the Seventh-day Adventist Church, they've been behind.
Why do you think that there hasn't been enough studies shown on a diet that obviously is incredibly popular at the moment? It's a huge talking point within the scientific world. Why are the scientific world not producing studies on the carnivore diet?
They are starting to come out now, but the reason why there's lots of studies the other way is because you've got people like the Seventh-day Adventist Church, John Harvey Kellogg, Dr. Kellogg. You're bringing it back to plant-based studies
as well. I'm talking about studies that prove the carnivore diet to be healthy.
Well, okay, there isn't any yet, but there will be some coming soon. Okay. The reason, your other point.
Okay, so what we'll do is, if we leave it at this point until those studies start coming out, and that you can then use to prove your claims to be true, then we'll go back to that, and then we'll discuss that matter.
Yeah, look into Michaela Peterson. She's starting a random control study on the lion diet for people with IBS and rheumatoid arthritis. And
send them to me.
It's just started now. It'll be ready in a couple of years, hopefully. You know, these studies are coming now. There's a lot of studies on the keto diet, which are good for you. And the Seventh-day Adventist Church, you need to look into this. Seventh-day Adventist Church, they were heavily against me. They pushed a lot of these studies. Big Food jumped onto it as well. You got Harvard scientists. They were paid off in the 60s and 70s to lie about cholesterol and sugar.
But you understand. You understand that the Cattlemen's Association in America and the Beef and Dairy Association, you understand that they are huge organisations that also have influence over scientific data.
Look, I'm not saying that they're influencing stuff as well, but Big Food have been a lot bigger. And look at Coca-Cola, Nestle, they're billion, trillion-dollar companies.
Of course, I agree. I agree. But even if you look at the new pyramid that comes out from the United States, if you look at their scientific, if you look at the funding within that study, they are predominantly from the Cattlemen Beef Association, the Dairy Association. They have had huge influence on the outcomes of that new pyramid.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Maybe they have, but previous to this, the old food pyramid was funded by all these big food companies. All this, exercise, it doesn't matter what you eat, it's all about exercise. It was funded by Coca-Cola, Nestle. They want people to eat their crap. You know, it's not good for you.
But I'm not purveying eating Coca-Cola. I'm purveying eating fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and whole grains.
And they're not good for you either. I mean, and even the WHO talks about this. You mentioned WHO. I don't agree that they're a particularly good organisation, but I've done a video about they've got a whole page talking about plant toxins. Even they can't deny it.
Okay.
I'll send you the link to it. Have a look at my page. They've got
okay.
A page.
Yeah, no. Please do, and then we can discuss that again.
Cool.
Right, the second one. So the second one is veganism destroys ecosystems. Now this is my forte because I'm studying an environmental science degree. So we can discuss this obviously in much more detail. I'm not someone who focuses, especially my advocacy. I don't focus my advocacy on the health side because I don't give two tots what the health outcomes are of what I eat. Because
Why? You don't care about your own health? Why not?
Because as far as I'm concerned, I'm vegan for one reason, and that's to end the exploitation of animals.
But that's your choice. That is my number one focus. You've chosen to do that. We shouldn't mislead other people and say it's good for their health when it's not good for their health. You know, I
don't talk about health. If you go through any of my content, I don't talk about health. I talk about two aspects. So I talk about the ethical side, and then I talk about the environmental side of a plant-based diet.
Fair enough.
I don't ever talk about health because as far as I'm concerned, all of the major organisations on the earth support a plant-based diet. So the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, they support a plant-based diet. The British Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, they also support a plant-based diet. The National Health Service, the Australian Dietetic Association support a plant-based diet as well.
I know about the Australian one. The Australian one's been infiltrated by Seventh-day Adventists, and they are against meat. It's a religion-based agenda.
I think there's a lot of conspiracy theories going on. So we need to all of these theories need to be evidenced before we can then maybe discuss them another time.
There is evidence. Look at Professor Tim Noakes. Professor Tim Noakes tried to speak out against it, and they tried to silence him.
I want to go on to number 2. So veganism destroys ecosystems.
Yeah.
So can you give me your claim regarding veganism destroys ecosystems?
Yeah, so basically what you're doing is you're destroying a natural wild habitat where there's several layers of animals, you know, so you've got the smaller animals, you've got the bigger animals, you've got the ones in the trees, you've got the flying animals, you've got everything like that. And they're like eating each other, they're excreting each other. When they excrete each other, that goes back into the ground. The ground feeds the plants. That's the natural wildlife sort of habitat. And what's happening is we're raising down these natural habitats and we're planting one crop, literally just one crop. We're destroying whole ecosystems, and then we're spraying them with pesticides. So we're further damaging the environment, and the soil doesn't get replenished. So we're having to add artificial, what's the word, manure, whatever it's called. You know, the stuff that makes the
synthetic fertilizers is what.
So you've got to add synthetic fertilizer. So it's totally unnatural. You know, you're totally destroying natural ecosystems, and you're making it very unnatural just to grow one crop. You know, and it's not replenishing. It's not renewable.
Okay, so there are certain aspects I agree with you. So I disagree with current farming methods, and that is plant farming methods, right? I disagree with the way that farmers produce crops, okay? So I disagree with the use of pesticides because pesticides do have their environmental issues. Synthetic fertilizers also have their environmental issues. And I advocate for a better way of farming crops. So we can look at things like vertical farming systems, for example. So that's essentially growing indoors. So we actually eliminate pesticide use completely. So I advocate for all of these systems. I disagree with the way that we currently farm at the moment. But in terms of your claim saying that it is the environmental damage is primarily caused by vegan crops isn't true. So when you look at the largest, most comprehensive data analysis ever conducted on our global food system, okay, it was published in 2018, and it was published in Science Journal and Nature Journal. So Science Journal and Nature Journal were two of the most highly reputable scientific journals there are on the planet, okay, and they published this data. So it was published by a scientist called Joseph Poore, okay. He now works as a leading scientist for Oxford University. So there is no other data on Earth that is as comprehensive as this. And it looked at 38,000 farms in 119 countries. They analysed data from over, I think it's something like 560 studies, okay? And the first thing I want to ask you is, how much land do you think, habitable land this is, so this is the land that human beings inhabit, how much of that, what percentage of that land do you think is devoted to agriculture?
I don't know, but I think if we move towards regenerative farming and we had cows living on the land and
we'll get to this. This is a point that I want to get to at some point, okay? But I just want you to answer this question: what percentage of habitable land on Earth do you think is used for agriculture?
A few percent.
It's 45%. So 45% of the habitable land on Earth is used for agriculture. Now, if you compare that, what do you think urbanisation is?
Urbanisation, it's like the spread of towns and cities.
Yeah, it's everywhere that humans have urbanised, essentially. So placed commercial buildings, roads, cities, towns, etc.
Yeah. So what are you trying to say then?
What percentage of the habitable land on Earth is urbanised? By the way, you can, if you want to look at all of this, it's ourworldindata.org shows all of this data on there. So you can go in there and you can have a look and it'll verify it. But what percentage?
I don't know, mate. I don't know. Tell me.
It's 1%.
Okay.
So it's 1% of the habitable land on Earth is urbanised, compared to agriculture, which equates to 45%. Mm-hmm. Now, how much of that agricultural land do you think? So it's separated into two sections, okay? It's separated into land that's used for farming animals, and then it's segregated into land that's growing crops directly for human consumption. What percentage of that 45%, which is 48 million kilometres squared, by the way, how much of that land do you think is devoted to farming animals? So that's for livestock, meat, dairy, textiles, and also the crop feeds as well for animal agriculture.
I'm guessing you're going to say the majority is animal agriculture and the minority is crops.
80%. Okay. 80%. So 16% is for crops, and then 4% is for non-food crops.
A lot of that land can't be used for agriculture because it's in
we'll get to that. So I'll explain about that section in a minute. Now, that 80% of agricultural land, which is for human consumption, which is for animal agriculture, how much does that supply in terms of calorie percentage? How much do we get? What percentage of calories do we get from that 80% of land? Again, you can verify.
Why does it matter? I mean, if there's only 1%,
but it opens up the efficiency of that system. Okay, so it opens up the efficiency. So from that 80% of agricultural land, we get 17% of our daily calories. 17, whereas the 16% that we use for crops for human consumption, we get 83% of our daily calories.
Okay, so your point is it's a smaller bit of land, it's more calorie dense. That's fair enough, but you're still destroying the ecosystem. That's the point I was making in my video.
But if you're talking about ecosystems, so agriculture is the leading driver to biodiversity loss, right? It's a leading driver. If you go on to all of the data, if you go on to here in the United Kingdom, if you look at the State of Nature report, the State of Nature report states that agriculture is the leading driver of biodiversity loss. Okay, and that is things like pesticides that are contributing factors. Yeah. But the biggest driver to biodiversity loss is land use. The amount of land agriculture uses, because the amount of land that agriculture uses drives things like habitat destruction, deforestation. So beef is the leading driver to deforestation globally.
Maybe the way it's being done now, but it could be done a lot more regeneratively. Whereas I don't think it can with agriculture. You're talking about different systems where you do vertical crops or whatever. In terms of space of land, we don't need that much land. Like you said, we've got only 1% that we've used. Agriculture. There's an argument to say agriculture actually destroyed the soil. There was evidence to show that pre-agricultural revolution, the savannah was full of soil, and Egypt was full of soil, and it got ruined by agriculture. Because
of course, agriculture Agriculture is the leading driver to nature depletion. But the same study, so exactly the same study, so the largest, most comprehensive data analysis, okay, they modelled the land use on different diets, okay? So they looked at our current global diet, okay? So at the moment, we use 704 million hectares for human food, okay?
But I think that diet's unnatural. If we change our diet and we'll eat more beef and meat,
it's not unnatural. It's not unnatural. So,
in my opinion, we disagree on that. You think it's unnatural?
No. But I'm backed by the leading organisations in the world that show you that you can thrive on a whole food plant-based diet. We know that to be factual at this moment in time. We do not need to consume animal products.
I'd say all of the data is misleading.
I've not consumed animal products in 5 years. I'm still here. I'm still thriving.
That's like saying I smoke 20 a day, and I'm still here and I'm thriving.
That haven't consumed animal products for many, many, many years, and they are still thriving.
But it doesn't mean it's good for you.
We do not need to consume
20 cigarettes a day.
We do not. Please, just let me speak. We do not need to consume animal products. That is factually correct.
But
we have the data to prove that.
Because you have to supplement on a vegan diet. If you're not supplementing, you're missing out.
I'm going to discuss. We're going to discuss supplementation. Okay, we will. I'm going to come to supplementation. I do need to be quick because my partner is cooking my dinner, and I am limited on time. So if we can get through this as quickly as possible. So we use 704 million hectares for human food. We use 538 million hectares for animal feed, and we use 2.89 billion hectares for just grazing animals alone. Now, if we were to shift to a plant-based diet, we would reduce the agricultural land use by 75%. That is that whole 2.89 billion hectares of land, which you state we can't grow crops on. But what we can do on that land is we can actually we can rewild that land, return it back to nature. That will increase the amount of biodiversity in this world, and that will get us out of this crisis that we are currently in.
It will destroy our health. It will destroy our health.
It will not destroy our health.
You admitted that. You just said you don't think vegan diet's good for you.
My health is not destroyed, and there are many people consuming a plant-based diet whose health is not destroyed.
Just because you're tolerating it doesn't mean it's good for you.
You have no evidence to prove this. I am backed by all
of the leading
organisations
has a
in
website
the world.
Listing the plant toxin.
You are not. We know this. It's factually correct. You can argue it until your face turns blue. You are incorrect. My
face won't turn blue. I'm quite calm. The WHO.
If we were to switch to a fully plant-based diet, you're trying to get me back onto the health. I know what you're trying to do because you know that I'm going to completely, absolutely destroy you regarding the environmental aspect. You're trying to lead me back to the health aspect.
I made a point.
Let me continue. Like I said, I'm limited. Let me continue. I am limited for time. If we were to switch to a plant-based diet,
I wasn't making any points about the percentage of land.
Let me speak. If we were to move to a plant-based diet, we would reduce land use by 75%.
But I was never talking about land use. I never brought land use up.
You're talking about wildlife depletion. The reason why wildlife is in a worrying we are in a sixth mass extinction event, just so you know, by the way, at this moment in time. That sixth mass extinction event will wipe out human beings. That is caused by agriculture, and that the leading driver to that is what you have on your chopping board right now. Okay, so if we were to move to a plant-based diet, we reduce land use by 75%. That is the same.
It doesn't matter. I don't think that's my main point. And you brought it up yourself. You don't do veganism for your health. It's not good for your health.
Your point was veganism destroys ecosystems.
Yeah, it does.
I am proving to you that veganism does not destroy ecosystems.
It does.
The food on your chopping board destroys ecosystems. And if we were to switch to a vegan diet, we would actually increase the amount of ecosystems there on Earth. So
I disagree.
That completely proves your claim to be false.
I disagree.
Now,
I don't know how you prove that.
You might disagree, but again, this is another thing. You don't have any evidence to prove that. I have the largest, most comprehensive data analysis ever conducted on our food system to prove you wrong.
Yeah, I don't know what
The
study you're referring
United
to. You're talking
Nations,
about land use.
The United Nations state, if we were to literally take all of the crops that we use for farming animals and not necessarily give the crops to humans, but obviously we'd have to change the type of crop that we use. But if we were to use that land, we could feed another 3.5 billion people.
But
We would
feed them
take.
food that's going to make them sicker and unhealthier, and they're going to live
It's
shorter
not.
lives and
It's
be unhappy and
you are
miserable.
you are you. That is a conspiracy theory that has
You
not
said you don't do
backed
the
by
vegan diet for
any
your health. You
evidence.
said that yourself. You said you don't do the vegan diet for your health. You're not worried about your health. Other people are worried about their health. They
That
want to
doesn't
be
matter.
healthier.
That
They want to live longer.
just because I'm not doing it for my health, I don't care. That doesn't mean that the plant-based diet is unhealthy.
It is. The
reason
WHO says
the
it
reason
themselves. Plant toxins are bad
one
for
of
you.
the reasons why I went vegan in the first place, or plant-based in the first place, was because I looked at the data. I looked at what the leading organisations were saying about a plant-based diet, and they stated I could thrive and survive on a plant-based diet.
It's not true.
That then opened the door to me saying, right, okay, if I can thrive on just plants,
There's no studies to say that you will thrive.
I do not need to mass exploit animals.
None of these studies have shown that a plant-based diet is healthier than a meat-based diet. They might have shown that a vegan-based diet is healthier than an ultra-processed.
You are trying to distract me away from the environmental aspect.
I'm making a separate point.
Like we said again, we can go back to that. We can debate that another time. I'm backed by the leading authorities, and you are not. The moment we're looking at veganism destroys ecosystems. Now that shows that they say the leading driver to biodiversity loss, species extinction, habitat destruction, also eutrophication. Do you know what eutrophication is?
No, I don't know all the fancy words.
Okay, so eutrophication is where you get excess amount of phosphates and nitrates in our water systems, and essentially what they do is they promote algae growth. That algae growth essentially causes ocean dead zones. So it means that UV light doesn't penetrate water systems. So all the life underneath that algae essentially dies. The leading driver to eutrophication is the excess amount of phosphorus and nitrates that you get from runoff from manure, because when cows and sheep are in fields, they essentially drop their feces on the fields, but they compact the soil. When they compact the soil, essentially, it means that when it rains, that the rain cannot penetrate that soil, unlike it would do in a woodland.
If the animals are walking on it,
and then all of that phosphorus
they excrete into the soil. If the animals walk on it, they're pushing it into the ground. This is called regenerative farming.
Not deep enough for it to not end up being leached into our waterways.
I don't know about that point. That's something I'll look into.
Okay, so this is the thing. I do.
This is
okay,
natural. If we just go back to how natural things are.
Listen. You've made claims about something that you know nothing about. Okay, you know nothing about.
I stand by it.
So why
I do
are you
believe in
making
destroying
claims about something that you know?
You did agree with me
about.
On points
maybe I would suggest educate yourself on the environmental impact of our food system, and then come back to me. Okay, now. Regarding that regenerative agriculture, okay?
Yes.
Are you aware of white oak pastures?
No.
Okay. So white oak pastures are a regenerative farm in the United States, okay? They are the leading kind of, I suppose, when people talk about regenerative agriculture, they always cite white oak pastures. This is meant to be the gold standard for regenerative agriculture, okay? They say themselves, this is from their own study. The study is called Ecosystem Impacts and Productive Capacity of Multi-Species Pastured Livestock Systems. Okay, they state in their study that if we were to shift to a regenerative agricultural system, that requires and that's called an MSPR system. Okay, that requires, it's a multi-species pastoral. I can't remember what the R means, but that requires 2.5 times more land than the current system that we're on now.
But you said we've got loads of spare land, so why does that matter? We're only using 1% of the land.
So 2.89. So we use 46% of the habitable land on Earth, right? 2.89 billion hectares of that is for pasture. Okay. Now that is just that gets rid of. We're not talking about our chickens. We're not talking about our pigs. okay, if we were to produce the same yield of flesh from cattle and sheep that we do across the entire board, we would need more pastoral land than we
But
use
why does that
currently,
matter? We're only
2.89 billion
occupying
hectares,
1% of
right?
the land. You said that yourself.
And then
We're only using 1%
if
of the
we,
land for civilization. Why does it matter if we use more land if it's more natural, more healthy for
because
us?
we're not
Live
talking
longer,
about
be
the
healthier,
1%.
less plant toxins.
We're talking about the 45%. We're talking about
I'm
the
not
45%.
worried about that. You keep going on about the amount of land we use for agriculture. I don't think that's a massive concern.
If you're not worried about that, then why are you making videos talking about environmental destruction?
Well, I'm just making a point here. Vegans say it's more good for the ecosystem. I don't think it is.
Listen, if we produce the same yield on that land and it requires 2.5 times more land, that is more land than we have on Earth.
But why does that matter? We don't need all of the land to live
billion
on
hectares,
as humans.
If we use 2.89 billion hectares for pasture and we multiply that by 2.5, that is more habitable land than we have on Earth. Even the leading purveyors of even the people that make the studies to try and prove that a regenerative agricultural system, they claim themselves that it will not work. It will not work because we simply do not have the land on Earth to do it.
I'd be interested to read it, but
I'll send it to you.
I think it's more natural than raising wild forests and like putting mono agriculture down. When the
leading driver to deforestation is beef. What you're eating on your plate. You can't be concerned about deforestation when you are literally sitting there. When you are literally sitting there and you are consuming the one food that causes the most amount of deforestation.
I don't know if that's true or not. I've not heard that.
90% of Amazon deforestation is caused by the agricultural system. Okay, by the animal agricultural system. Now that is predominantly through grazing cattle. So cattle is one of the leading drivers. You can have a look. So go on Our World in Data and type in deforestation. It will show you the data around deforestation. Right. I need to move on. So the next one is obviously the supplementation. Now this will be fairly, very quick. Now I understand and I fully agree with you that on a plant-based diet, you need to be supplemented B12.
That's right? Not natural. It's not good for you.
Okay. But what's the percentage of animals that are in factory farms?
I don't know what's the point. So we're talking about supplementation. Why does it matter?
Yeah, and we're talking about supplementation.
You have to supplement. You're not getting all the nutrients.
But what I'm trying to get at is that we also supplement with that cow that's on your board is also supplemented B12. They supplement the farm animals.
It's eating grass. It's eating grass, and
in the UK. The UK cattle are not grass-fed all year round. They have to go indoors because of our winter. And
they might be fed some feed, or they could be fed hay.
They are supplemented B12 because cobalt comes from the soil. They are not consuming the grass from the soil.
That's natural, though. That's a natural process.
So it's natural for a cow to be fed a supplement, but it's unnatural for a human to be fed a supplement.
Well, if it's organic and grass fed, it shouldn't be given artificial B12.
You've contradicted yourself.
I don't think so. No, I was saying if it's getting its B12
of course you don't think so,
grass
but that is a contradiction. You've just said it's unnatural for a human to supplement, but it's natural for a cow to supplement.
I never said
that. Do you think a cow
if they're getting their B12 from the grass?
Do you think cattle in the natural world, this is non-domesticated cattle, by the way, so we're looking at things like aurochs and bison. Do you think they supplement in the wild?
Obviously not, because they don't need to.
No,
like vegans have to.
Because it is unnatural. But you're talking about supplementation. But even iodine is a supplement that's given to farm animals. So when they get, especially dairy cattle, so when they get infections on their udders, they're sprayed iodine. A lot of the iodine that you get from
I don't agree with that. I don't think that's good.
But you're
That's not
stating
supplementation. That's a treating. I'm talking about
but you're
vegans have
making
to
a claim
supplement.
that if you're vegan, you have to supplement, but you are also having to supplement. But your supplementation comes through an animal.
You're saying
My
if they get an infection on their udders, they get
my
sprayed with
supplementation
hygiene.
does not
That's like a
involve a
treatment. That
cow
isn't
getting
like.
their head blown off and their throat slit and decapitated. That's the
I know you
difference
don't agree with
between
killing
me and
animals,
you.
but that's the
I'm
natural cycle of
supplemented.
life. That's
I
how
get a
humans
supplement
evolved.
and I put it straight into my mouth, whereas you get a supplement that goes through a cow. That cow goes into the slaughterhouse, gets
But
bolt
the
done through the
supplements you
skull,
are
their
having have
throat
been
slit,
made in
their head
factories.
chopped off, hung upside down, and then all of their guts that just drain out onto the kill floor. That's the difference between me and you. So you've made a claim that we need to supplement, but you are also having to supplement.
I know it obviously upsets you and you feel strongly about that. I get that. But supplementing factory-made supplements is not natural.
But you're
Whereas the
supplementing.
beef
But
is
your cow, but
making
that
their own
flesh is
supplement
supplemented. That flesh is supplemented.
with grass.
It's not. They are not grass-fed all year round in the United Kingdom.
And grass and hay. In the winter they're giving hay. If you get good quality beef.
But they do not get B12 from hay. They get it from cobalt from the soil. You have to actually eat the grass, pull the soil up, and take the soil into your mouth.
That's a natural
and then
process.
that is how they get their B12. That's where they get their B12 from. They do not get it from feed. So they have to be supplemented. So it's a natural process.
So where does your vitamin B12 come from?
So it's a natural, in the same place that your vitamin B12 comes from.
But the cows have a different digestive system. They're able to process it and it goes into their meat. Where yours is unnaturally made by waste products.
B12 comes from cobalt in the soil. It doesn't come from the grass. You can look this up. It comes from cobalt. Before we started to clean all of our fruits and vegetables, we used to be able to get B12 naturally when we used to just eat. If you go to an allotment,
vegetables is so
if you go to an allotment and you pull a carrot out of the ground and you eat it without cleaning it, you get B12. You can get B12 from our water systems. Before we cleansed our water systems, we would get B12 from our water. But unfortunately, we would get other diseases as well. So we have to sanitize our water system.
As well. How do you get those?
You get omega-3s. Chia seeds come with omega-3s. Algae comes from has got omega-3s. Fish get their omega-3s from algae. If you just eat algae straight from the source, you get your omega-3s.
You would have to eat tons of it, you know? You have to eat tons of it.
You do not need to eat. This is not, you are not backed by the data. The data shows that you can get all of the essential nutrients. The only thing that you don't need is B12. But for you, for example, vitamin D, for example, where we get vitamin D from is from the sun.
Cholesterol.
And most people in the United Kingdom, most people are told that they have to have a vitamin D supplement. Do you think
they're not getting enough sunlight and they're not eating enough cholesterol?
Do you take a vitamin D supplement?
No, I don't take any supplement.
But you should do. You should be taking a vitamin D supplement.
I tested my vitamin D levels and they're good. Have a look at my top pin post.
But the reason
why do I need to? My vitamin D levels are good.
Because in the United Kingdom, for example, during the winter periods, you don't get enough vitamin D from the sun because there's a lot of cloud.
Vitamin D is not from the sun. The sun converts cholesterol into vitamin D. That's a process within the body.
It's nonsense.
That's not nonsense.
It's nonsense. If you look it up, you can look it up. If you look it up, every single person in the United Kingdom is told that they must supplement vitamin D. It's why we fortify it in foods. It's why we put it in things like milk and bread.
I don't agree with that. I don't think we should be supplementing vitamin D. They use that as a poison. Vitamin D can be poisonous.
Okay, it's conspiracy theories. It's conspiracy theories.
They use vitamin D in lab experiments to kill rats.
Based on absolutely no credible science whatsoever.
They do. They use vitamin D3 as a poison to kill rats. Yeah, I wouldn't be supplementing too much of it. You should be getting it from cholesterol, and then the sunlight converts it alongside vitamin K2 to vitamin D.
Let's have a look. Right. Let me have a look. Let me. So you think that? Okay. So let's let me just type this in, okay? Let me actually see if this is verified.
Sure.
So, give me the claim. What's the claim? So you can
Vitamin
get vitamin D.
Vitamin D is a process that your body produces vitamin D through a process, right? So it converts cholesterol into vitamin D, and sunlight helps with that conversion. And vitamin K2 is involved as well.
RE required supplementation. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, I can't be too long because I say I need to go to my dinner, but there's one more claim. The next claim I want to talk about is your claim about sanctuaries.
Yeah. So okay. I said I don't think they're natural. Obviously, she's talking about sanctuaries where injured animals are kept and recuperated. Fair enough if people want to do that. I don't have an issue with that, but I don't think they should be kept unnaturally there.
What about farms? Do you think farms are natural?
Well, they're there for our consumption. I don't think it's natural. No, I think in the real we should really be eating wild meat.
Okay, what? So like deer and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's the most natural method, but obviously it's impractical due to civilization. Everything changed with the 10,000 years ago when we started to have civilization, and then people started to live in towns and cities, and then things changed.
You understand.
I don't think it's good for
you understand the hunting of deer has its ecological issues, right?
Well, there's too many deer, so I think in the UK...
Well, there isn't too many deer. So the Deer Association, the leading authority on deer, have actually, if you go on their website, they talk about this theory that there is a population of roughly about 2 million deer, right? They actually state that that's false, okay? That's actually been created by people that want to go out and hunt deer and profit from their flesh, essentially. That's where that 2 million figure. So there are certain deer that have a system where they can pause. It's called, I think it's called, I can't remember what it's called, something menopausa diapausa, which is where they essentially can pause pregnancy or actually terminate pregnancy, depending on the ecological environment. So if there is too many deer, the deer themselves can essentially control their environment. But the reason why we are overpopulated with deer, why do you think we're overpopulated with deer?
I have no idea.
Well, because obviously in the United Kingdom, there would have been predators. Do you know what sort of predators that would have existed in the UK?
I mean, deers, they eat grass mainly, so they're not really predators. They're just herbivores. They're grazing in open grasslands is not their natural behaviour. I'm not an expert on deers. Well, no, sorry, I take that back. Grazing in woodlands is not their natural behaviour, but grazing in open areas is their natural behaviour. I agree with you on that. But why is the reason why? So, what sort of predators would we have had in the UK? Probably wolves.
Wolves, bears, lynx.
Probably. I'm not an expert.
Yeah. Why do they no longer exist?
Probably humans hunted them. I'm not sure.
Why did we hunt them?
For food.
Not for food.
I don't know, mate. But my point is, wait.
Answer the question.
You're moving to a different topic. I don't understand.
Why do you think they hunted them? What do you think the predators were eating that caused human beings to want to go out and hunt them?
I don't know, mate. Make your point. What point are you trying to make?
So farm animals, sheep, cattle. Yeah. Because the predators were going in and consuming the farmed animals that we had domesticated, we went out and shot the predators. So this whole issue, this is what really bugs me, right?
We're arguing over something I agree with. I don't think
I'm not saying you bug me, by the way. I'm talking about generally this whole thing about deer bugs me, simply because of the reason that the people that talk about the overpopulation of deer are the same people that would have killed all the predators that caused the overpopulation of deer in the first place. If you know what I mean, people moan about something that they caused. Yeah, that's what really, really bugs me. But the issue is, when we hunt deer, it comes one, there's obviously the fact that why should we take someone's life? What right do we have to take someone's life, right? But also we change their behavior, okay? We change deer behavior. So deer in other countries where they're not hunted, they have natural predators. So in, say, Chitwan National Park in Nepal, for example, they have spotted deer. Now, spotted deer are controlled by tigers, okay? So they have a natural predator, right? Now, when deer go through wooded areas, they're very, very, very nervous because obviously tigers can jump up at them, literally from meters away, all right? So they go and graze in open areas, right? Do you think humans follow that same predatory behavior?
I think humans would have been hunting wild animals. This is the point you asked me.
No. I mean now with a gun. Do you think humans? Because you're talking about the future of deer. So we can't go back to thousands of years ago.
You brought deer up. You asked a question.
No. You said about the fact that we should be eating more wild animals.
Yeah, and then you brought deer into it. I didn't say necessarily.
We're talking about in the future. So we're not talking about. We're not talking about how we hunted thousands of years ago.
Biologically,
we're not. No. So what I asked you is, do we replicate the natural behaviour of a hunter for deer? Do we jump up at them in the woodlands from a few meters away, jump on them, and then eat them?
No, I said to you from the start, humans evolved through tools. We would have thrown spears, we would have
from 100 yards
with
a rifle?
A rifle is a bit of an unnatural thing, but
no. That's irrelevant. What do we do right now? How do we hunt deer right at this moment?
With a gun, with a rifle right now. But I wasn't talking about.
So what happens is that you change deer's behaviour. So they no longer become scared within woodlands. They become nervous in open areas where they would naturally graze.
They're nervous.
So what they do now is they now graze in woodland areas. Now that has an environmental issue. So if we were to go out and fully hunt deer, we would actually absolutely destroy our ecosystems beyond what we've already done.
Yeah, maybe that's true. I'm talking in an ideal world, humans would be hunting wild animals.
We're not in an ideal world.
I'm saying the current environment we have now, of course it's not sustainable. If all humans started hunting deer, they would be gone straight away. I get that. We were talking about farming. You sort of said, is farming right or natural? And I sort of said,
is it natural? Is farming natural?
No, and I agree with you. No, it's not natural. I said the natural state
where does
is wild animals.
That cow that you've got on your board there, where does that come from?
It's come from a farm.
It's come from a farm. So is a farm a natural environment?
No, and I agreed with you. So
how can you criticise sanctuaries where these animals get to live their full lives, by the way, not a fraction of their lives? Dairy cows barely reach 5 years old before they're slaughtered. Do they actually
want to be there?
Do you think they want to be on a farm?
No, but we're eating them. This is part of the human cycle of life.
How can you criticise sanctuaries that protect animals and let them live out there? Because these animals can't go back in the wild, by the way, because they're mutations. They've been selectively bred over thousands of years. They would not survive in the wild. So a dairy cow, for example, she produces 4 to 8 times more milk than she would naturally do, which is why they get infections in their udders, which is why when you drink milk, there's pus. There are infections and pus in your
if you
dairy.
Get good quality raw milk, you wouldn't get any pus infections.
They have these udders literally are laying in their own shit. If you
go to a good quality farm, there's a local farm to me, they serve raw milk, there's Jersey cows.
They are still in sheds. They are still in sheds. They are still laying down in their own feces. They're
pretty healthy, and there's lots of hygiene.
We do not keep cattle on grass all year round. They cannot do so because of our seasons.
They have some shelter, but they are free to roam.
During the spring and summer time. So they get infections, okay? So these animals are mutations, right? They would not survive in the wild. It would be unfair to put these animals back into the wild. So a sanctuary is a safe haven for them where they're not going to be bolt gun through the skull. They're not going to have their testicles chopped off. they're not going to have their tails docked. They're not going to be. They're not going to have their throats slit. They're not going to be put into a gas chamber. They are going to be able to live out their full lives. Now, if you consider that to be unnatural, yet you support a system that essentially exploits these animals are there for profit. Farmers only see these animals as a way of profit.
I don't think sanctuaries are terrible. You know, I was more talking about zoos where people are sort of kept there and viewed.
I'm against zoos.
Fair enough.
Me and you on zoos are aligned.
Fair enough.
We and you on zoos are aligned, right? Okay. Vegans don't support zoos, right? We don't support them. I don't support wild animals in captivity. Okay.
Yeah.
The reason why I
don't agree with that either. I think
that's horrendous. Yeah. I think what we should be doing is a lot of these animals, they can't necessarily go out in the wild because they've been humanized so much. So what I think that we should be doing is allowing these animals to be in sanctuaries in their own country. So where I am in Cambodia at the moment, there's sanctuaries that protect wildlife, yeah? And these animals are in sanctuaries because they can't go out into the wild because they're too humanized. And I think zoos need to end across the Western world. And then these, like ZSL, for example, need to focus on creating sanctuaries for these animals in their own environment.
No, I'm not against that.
I agree with you on that.
You know,
what you can't say is that sanctuaries are essentially unnatural, yet you support a system that's also unnatural. It's a bit of a contradiction. Do you agree?
I'm not saying that I'm this. Like I was trying to say, like the farming system is a system we've got. If we were able to hunt sustainably, I'd be more in favour of that. But the current society
not going to be able to.
It's not possible to do that.
Not going to be able to in a million years.
Be healthy.
There's a reason why 99% of the animals on Earth are factory farmed. Right? There's a reason why. So in terms of the figures, animals in factory farms. So 99.96% of all chickens are factory farmed. 99.8% of all turkeys are factory farmed.
Yeah,
75% of cows.
Awful, you know.
They're 75. But to a point. To a point, you think factory farms are awful up until the slaughterhouse. 75% of cows are factory farmed. 100% of farmed fish are factory farmed. 98.3% of egg-laying hens are factory farmed, and 98.6% of pigs are factory farmed. You support factory farming.
No, I think they should be farmed sustainably.
But you support
regenerative farming. I think that.
But you support factory farms. You eat eggs, right?
Yeah, I only eat free range organic.
98.3% of all egg-laying hens are factory farmed. You support factory farming.
I don't think they're kept in good conditions.
Do you eat bacon?
Not really.
Do you eat bacon?
Sometimes.
So 98.6% of pigs are factory farmed. Do you know what? Are you against CO2 gas chambers?
Where they sort of gas them in the chamber, yeah.
Yeah, have you seen the footage?
Yeah.
I strongly advise you to watch Pignorant on Amazon Prime, right? It's the first time cameras have ever been put. It's called Pignorant. It's on Amazon Prime.
Okay, I'll watch it.
Yeah. It's the first time that they've put cameras inside slaughterhouses where they gas pigs alive. It's horrific. It's violent. They're tortured for up to about 3 minutes.
Yeah,
but 88%.
I think I don't glorify pigs.
One second. Let me finish. But 88% of the pigs in the UK are sent to CO2 gas chambers. So it's highly likely that when you eat bacon, that you are supporting gas chambers. You support factory farms that you claim to be inherently against.
Maybe, yeah.
That, as far as I'm
concerned,
you're
right. If I eat it, I
that is a contradiction.
Support it. That doesn't mean I agree with the method. But yeah, you know, you're right. If I was very against it, I shouldn't eat it at all.
Okay. Right.
You know.
I think that is everything I've covered.
Okay.
I do massively appreciate you allowing me.
Vitamin D thing with the cholesterol.
So you are right in terms of yes, your body actually produces vitamin D using a specific type of cholesterol, and yes, there is strong recommendation. So there is a strong recommendation. But this is the point, right? This is the point. There is a strong recommendation that we are required to take a vitamin D supplement. So the NHS would advise everyone take a vitamin D supplement.
But why is my vitamin D levels good and I don't take any vitamin D supplement then? Because I get it.
But what you're saying is, my point is that you're pointing something at the vegan community, supplementation, but supplementation is required in the non-vegan community as well. That's my point.
I don't take any supplements.
I'm not pointing fingers at you. I'm saying if you're going to point fingers at the vegan community for having to take a supplement, you need to point the fingers at probably 95% of human beings that are in the United Kingdom as well.
I agree with that, but what I'm saying is,
don't use it against individuals that it's not exclusively. It's not exclusive to us. So you're pointing it at us. You're pointing it at us as a way to demonise the vegan community when 95% of probably people in the United Kingdom
demonise you. I'm genuinely concerned. You said you're not concerned about your health, but there's other people that are doing veganism because they think it's good for their health. And I'm trying to no, it's not good for you.
I take B12 supplemented food. I live in Cambodia. I have enough sun. Okay, so I'm fine with supplementing, right? When I take for my B12, so I eat nutritional yeast. So nutritional yeast is high in B12, and it's something that I put on my food, and it's delicious. It's like crunchy cheese, and that gives me. I do not want to support. Yes, but I do not want to support a system that breeds an animal into existence, gives them shitty lives, and then slices their throat.
Okay, fair enough. You've got your reasons for doing it. You're motivated by.
But my point is, do not aim it at specifically vegans, because supplementation. If you go into Holland and Barrett, if you look at the supplement section, how many of those supplements are vegan supplements? They have a very, very small amount of shelf space, because the majority of the people in the world supplement. Okay.
Yeah, and I don't think it's good.
That's my point. I'm not saying that we don't need to supplement, and we don't need to supplement, and you do. My point is, you are using it as a means to demonize.
I'm not trying to demonize vegans. I'm just trying to say there's a lot of vegans that think it's healthy, and it's not.
But all of the data shows that we can be healthy. There is nothing wrong with supplementing. Your steak, your cow flesh has been supplemented. Okay. As much as you don't want to believe it. As much as you don't want to believe it, your flesh on your plate has been supplemented. You are supplementing right now through a secondary source.
It's not an artificial one, though.
Of course, it's going to be an art. Do you want to have a look at? Go onto Google and type livestock B12 supplementation. It comes in a massive bottle. It looks like a chemical. It looks like something. I don't think if they are, I will look into it. If they are, I clean the floors with. But that's how it is.
I don't think it is. If it's grass-fed
you
organic,
are criticising people for
supplementing
supplementing when you are
yet in the winter they will be fed hay, which is dried grass.
It's not the reality of it. Maybe in your fantasy world, yes, but that is not the reality. Cows are not on grass all year round in the United Kingdom. They are on grass for a fraction of the year, and then they are inside.
In the winter,
I've spoken to farmers about this, and they agree that they are supplemented. They use things like silage. They use things like soy. Soy from the Amazon rainforest is used as a cattle feed in the UK. I guarantee that your cattle, your flesh on your plate, has had a soy-based feed.
Maybe if it's not organic or grass-fed.
You do not get B12 from hay. It's not from the grass. It is from the soil.
But the grass gets it into the soil. Cows don't eat soil, do they? They eat the grass. So they get it from the soil.
Do you think so? Do you think that cattle? So when cattle bring soil and eat grass and they bring it up, do you not think that there's a little bit of soil on the roots of that grass?
Yeah, probably a little bit of soil.
There we go. There we go. So they do eat soil.
Okay, but then it goes into their bodies, and then we eat their meat. It's not like they're being fed an artificial supplement.
But you are still. But this is the point. You're still supplementing.
But
and 95% of the probably 100% of the people in the United Kingdom are supplementing. Do not put this as a way of demonizing a group of people when it is essentially everyone is supplementing.
I'm not trying to demonize vegans, but I am concerned that some vegans think it's
not really. Not really. Okay, shall we? Okay, let's have a look. Let's have a look at that post, shall we? So let's have a look at the post. Let's have a look what it says. Vegan crying about the natural cycle of life. Do you not think that that is demonizing a group of people? And one of your points, why, is because of B12. Do you not think that that is demonizing a group of people?
You've obviously taken it as demonizing. You know, I'm just trying to make a point.
Do you not? Okay, so vegan crying. If I made a video about you and it said carnivore crying about the natural cycle of life, you would consider that to be
go ahead. I wouldn't mind if you want to make a video out of me. No problem. I'm not.
But would you consider that to be trying to demonize you or demonize the carnivore community?
I mean, how do you define demonizing?
Well, just think for a little bit, yeah? If someone did that for you, would you think that they were trying to be nice to you, or do you think that they were trying to put you down in some way?
I wouldn't mind. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. It's free speech.
It doesn't... But just think about the majority of the people. What do you think the majority of the people would think? Do you think that they would see that as someone trying to put them down or trying to be nice to them?
Well, like she's putting comments on my page attacking me. She's demonizing me for my diet, saying all kinds of things. I'm just responding to her comment.
But then aim it straight back at her if that's the case.
I did. I literally did a video response, and that's just the caption.
Like
obviously, the caption bothered you.
Do not start trying to essentially lead it on to a group of people that are not demonizing you. Okay. But I think I've come on here.
She's got an agenda, and I'm responding to that agenda.
Do you not think that I've come on here and been respectful?
Yeah, overall, and I've been respectful to you.
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
So having civil debate, and it's good to hear your opinions.
So I would also want the same level of respect back. Yeah, I don't want people that I consider to be, you know, I don't want to. What I don't like is the fact that you are trying to use something against a group of people, because that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to use that as an argument against veganism.
You know how TikTok works. You have to grab someone's attention in the first few seconds. It's just a caption.
Well, yeah, of course. I understand you're doing it for likes. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, of course you are. Yeah.
I'm not doing it for likes. I'm trying to spread I don't have any agenda, by the way. I'm testing this on myself. I'm letting people know how it goes, but also I want to let people know that I don't think it's healthy. That's my opinion about it. I don't think it's healthy.
But that's an opinion. That's an opinion. It's
am I not allowed to share my opinion? What's wrong with me sharing my opinion?
But that's not backed by science. What if I went around sharing? What if I went around sharing an opinion that I thought that you molested animals?
I mean, listen.
That's an opinion. That's my opinion. I think that you molest the animals. What if I went around with that opinion thinking that you do exactly the same? It's a lie. It's not backed by evidence. Do you think that that's okay going around?
I'm saying, you know, she's having a go at me, and I'm saying she's crying. You know, that's what I'm saying. She's crying about the cycle of life. This is the natural cycle of life. We kill animals, we eat them. This is how we evolved.
We are not. We are far, far, far drawn from the natural cycle of life. We shop in Tesco's. We have mobile phones. We fly in tubes thousands of feet up in the air.
We are so removed from the natural cycle.
Just because that you look, we are so far removed from the natural cycle of life. The animals that you consume are not natural animals. They are domesticated animals.
Yeah, but the cycle of life is still there. We kill animals. We eat animals.
It's not a natural thing that we do now.
That's my opinion. Right. You know, you're entitled to your opinion.
It's an opinion not based on. It's an opinion not based on facts. Okay.
you're
Right,
entitled to
I
think
need to
that,
go
you know.
because I need to go and have my dinner that doesn't have
Fine.
the
Enjoy
body
your
parts
dinner.
of animals on it. So it was very good speaking to you. I really
Okay.
appreciate
Thanks
the
for
fact that
joining.
I honestly, by the way, I really respect people that let me go on their lives and have
Yeah.
conversations,
Yeah.
and I
You're
really respect
welcome.
that. So
Thanks for
I
coming
hope
on.
maybe
And
we
it's good
might
to
do
have
it
a debate.
again.
I know we're not going to agree. You know, we never were going to
Of
agree, but
course.
it's good to have a discussion. Let's get things open in the
And
air, you
let's
know.
let the people in your room decide, yeah?
Yeah,
So,
fine.
yeah, it was an absolute pleasure. Stay in contact. I am following
Yeah.
you, so I will keep an eye.
Yeah, cool. I'll give you a
And
follow back.
thank you.
Catch you
You have a
later.
good day.
Enjoy your dinner. Take care.
I will do.